Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the New Champion Dialogues. We will focus on how SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, can support and drive positive social, environmental, and economic change. My name is Olivier Schwab. I'm Managing Director at the World Economic Forum, and it's my pleasure to open this session entitled Championing the Entrepreneurial Agenda. As you might know, the World Economic Forum has long been at the forefront of recognizing the strategic importance of sustainable value creation for businesses. A natural place to start driving this agenda is through partnering with the world's largest corporations. Yet, SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, represent about 90% of all firms globally, and about 70% of employment and of GDP, according to some estimates. So at an aggregate level, these businesses play a significant role in enabling and shaping the nature of growth, innovation, and sustainability of our global, regional, and local economies. It's therefore essential that small businesses and medium-sized businesses are future ready. In other words, that they simultaneously are able to achieve high levels of growth, but also positive social impact. In order to do this, they have to be highly adaptive. Today, you'll hear from representatives of the Forum's New Champions community, a group of mid-sized companies championing new business models, emerging technologies, and sustainable growth strategies. In other words, good examples of adaptive, future-ready businesses. It's my pleasure to introduce your moderator for this session, Liu Tian, who is Managing Director of the Economist Group for Greater China. Liu Tian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Olivia, for the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our global audiences. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is our first session of the entire greater session here. And I hope you're just as excited as I am just to kick off the conversation with our four brilliant speakers. So the session today is on championing the entrepreneurial agenda. And I'd like to remind you that this session will be conducted in both Chinese and in English. If you look at the bottom line, somewhere in the middle, there is an icon of Earth. So that is where you go for the interpretations. So look forward to hearing from you. Now, I'd like to first quickly introduce our four speakers of today. First, we have Mr. Chen Xiaohua, who is the founder and CEO of Daojia, a company that uses AI and digital technology to disrupt the traditional home service industry in China. 待会儿我们的第一位嘉宾是陈小华先生，他是道家。
Our first speaker is Mr. Chen Xiaohua, founder and chief executive officer of Daojia from People's Republic of China. The company uses AI and digital technologies to disrupt the household services sector. Welcome.
Robert Xiaohong is the CEO of Perfect World, a company that specializes in metaverse, in gaming, and production of motion pictures and TV series. 肖宏先生是我们今天的第二位嘉宾，欢迎您。完美世界
Robert Xiaohong, Chief Executive Officer, Perfect World from China, focusing on gaming, TV, and film, and metaverse.
The CEO of UEarth, a company that specializes in air purifier. And she is based out of UK and Italy. Welcome. Last but not least, we have Michelle Baker, CEO of Mozilla, who is a nonprofit open source operations. Welcome to all of you. I'd like to start our conversation today with a general question that goes to each one of you, which is, in the ever more competitive industry and world that we live nowadays, what innovative and transformative initiative have your company taken to make sure that you stay ahead of the competitive curve? And when you have to look ahead in the next decade or so, what kind of visions do you hold for your company and for the industry, especially in the era of COVID? Can we start with Mr. Chen Xiaohua? Thank you.
非常感谢主持人。
Thank you very much, moderator, for the question. We are focused on improving the household services industry here in China. I am very pleased to be here, especially having this opportunity to talk to you about China's household services sector. There has been profound changes in this industry already in the past 30 years or so. The household services sector are dominated by micro-sized enterprises. On average, they would have a handful of employees at most. But today, with digital technologies, we now have more than 1.5 million people, especially women, working on the platform. But the biggest change we brought was to bring this entire sector onto a digital platform, making it a scaled economy, and that change is profound. So in the first tier, we brought these small micro companies into large-scale world companies, and then we provided a digital platform, digitalizing all links on the industry chain. And especially today in COVID times, the mobility of people and face-to-face exchanges had been impacted. But because of our large-scale platform, employers and service providers can still conduct interviews, recruit, sign contracts, and also look at health reports, looking at credit records, and make payments online. So all of these links now have been 100% digitalized. We have also made linkages to the insurance companies. And so this is exciting to all of us in this industry because it's helping women in the most remote, most poverty-stricken regions in China to find decent and dignified employment in larger cities in China. So I feel that this experience can be rolled out to the rest of the world. And I trust this is a Chinese startup contribution to today's business world. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen. You have shared with us some very exciting phenomenon in this industry. So in the next couple of years, looking at the transformation of this industry, especially digital transformation of this industry, what is the most exciting growth engine and what is your biggest concern? The most exciting part, again, is what I've mentioned. Now we have 30 million people working in this industry, and we will gradually move from a household services provider to an empowering digital infrastructure supplier to people working in this industry. So the next decade, I hope we would be able to provide a credit profile for every one of these 30 million people. It would have their CV, would have their track record, their health record, their insurance situations, and they didn't have to use any agency or brokerage to use these services and sign a contract with potential employers. And their funds would also be secured on this platform. And this infrastructure, in the end, will enable the free mobility of service providers across different employers. And of course, challenges exist. The past 3 years had been a big challenge for companies like ours, but it brings challenges as well as opportunities. It had accelerated our digitalization. In 2020, when COVID just hit, we moved our training and interviews online, and this was very quickly popularized. In the past, employers want to go to a physical office to look at the service providers, to have face-to-face interviews, but now they are more adept to conducting interviews online. And in the past, we have paper-based health reports, for example. Now everything's paperless. So we have gone through the test of COVID-19, and this will make us stronger. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chen. Crisis is also an opportunity. Thank you very much for that. I would like to give the question to Robert. Now, you are in a company that covers many different industries, really. So technical transformation, how can innovation give you a continued competitive edge in your industry globally? There are several very important points. One is technology itself. Because we provide different services and products in the digital space, The technology itself is core to our development. When we have core technology, how do we use it to enable and empower our product? This is a very important point as well. And for a long time, we have been focusing our energy and resources on this point as well. So we're by nature a technology company. The second, it is to do with content, film, gaming, or TV content. All of these are content that has a storyline. And there are many different scenarios in there. So to tell a story well is very much to do with innovation, not just in technology, but also in the understanding the humanity environment, looking at the creativity and find out ways to move people. So this is actually more of an innovation in the mindset. We have many storytellers who are good at telling stories. We have script writers, and all of these people are very creative and innovative. They observe the society, observe the people around them, and distill the good content out of the observations. And the third part is also to do with content. This is cross-disciplinary. So since the COVID had hit, the film and TV industry had been hit hard because they couldn't carry out their shooting. However, cross-disciplinary content had become very popular. For example, if we're able to put some of the cultural symbols, such as Dunhuang, the Stony Caves, the Palace Museum in Beijing, we'll be able to digitalize the content and putting it into the different products, including gaming products and TV and film products. On the one hand, it would enrich the contents, bringing more content and cultural symbols into our content. On the other hand, we find technical solutions to realize things that we weren't able to do unless we go physically. For example, you have to go to the Palace Museum to look at the museum itself. But now you can go into a game, and in a 3D scenario, you can experience it. So that's also interdisciplinary. In another aspect, we've done quite a lot using our technology into education. It's still quite small scale now. Children like to play games and didn't like to study. And I believe you're the same. I was like this when I was a child. So we didn't enjoy learning. But now if we were able to make the learning of Chinese characteristics easier for the children, because it can be very difficult, we would build in little incentives into the games and making the learning process fun. And this would make it easier for the children to remember the characters. And that's also cross-disciplinary. So we wanted to use that to keep our advantage in competition. Well, thank you. Thank you, Robert, for that.
So I wonder, you work in air purifier. Has COVID made any difference to your life and to your company's life? How do you see the difference? And I know that you also work on a metaverse app to help the world raise better awareness. Like to share with us?
B2B segment to understand how important this is. Now, for the economic turmoil and what happened with lockdown, everybody has very clear that they have a liability on managing also this aspect to keep the world turning and their companies turning. So COVID has greatly helped us on this.
So compared to bigger companies in your industry, how do you see that your company and some of the other SMEs are doing better in a way? and to be more competitive?
Well, we are very flexible and much faster than larger company. However, larger companies then have the resources and the market penetration to bring some product to the market much easier. So we digitalized a lot. We completely digitalized all our e-commerce. And to give you an example, during the pandemic, when the pandemic struck, we, besides our air purification and monitoring systems, we also developed a mask that's called UMask. And actually, very, very quickly, in 30 days, we were able to test, validate, and file a patent, design, and start an industrialization of a mask that was available to the world, worldwide, through our e-commerce. And this was an organic success that just drove itself through let's say, grow and developed itself organically, which was pretty amazing. And so that showed us that we had to grow at the pace of their request. And so we grew at people count, but also digitally to adjust to whatever people were asking. And also by outsourcing everything we could outsource, like manufacturing, like service, customer service, or logistics, of course. And that was very successful for us. We kept the core competences in-house, like research and development, product development, communication, marketing, and we gave out everything that we weren't so skilled in. So we had the best of the large companies and the best of the small, flexible companies and a big market request, which is what really made our success.
Thank you, Betta. Love to hear the stories where small and medium enterprises can take advantage or make the best out of their own comparative advantage and stay ahead of the curve. Thank you for sharing that. Michelle, can I turn to you now?
Please.
Yes, so you're based out of US and you work on open source. So share with us what's your vision of the industries and what are the opportunities and challenges, please?
Well, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for the opportunity to join. I'm from Mozilla. We make core internet technologies. So very core from the standards layer up. The flagship product is an internet browser. It's been here since very early days. And so that means we compete with the tech giants in both that product, other products, and in the core technologies that we look at. What is the nature, what is the power of the internet itself? And in particular, we look at how does that technology affect individuals, people, and our psyches, and then groups, i.e. society. And so for us, we're so much smaller than the giants. The key for us is innovation, and it is doing things that don't make sense for the giants. And since you mentioned open source, I'll use that as an example. One of the big innovations, and again, I'll speak about Firefox since it's a well-known brand. One of the big innovations in Firefox was in the production method, in which we took an oddball sort of technical production method known to geeks, really, and turned it into mainstream and invited customers in to collaborate and build the product with us. That was called open source. It became mainstream in our parts of the world, in the consumer internet through our product, in which the product was successful in the market and it caused an explanation of what is open source. So crazy for the giants of their time, but a method that made sense for us because we could do something different. We also have always been a very remote organization, the internet, the network. And so for us, having people work in ones or twos in their homes all over the world is a natural. And so as a very early innovation, we were probably one of the early companies where you could find your way in through open source from your home, not be an employee, prove you could do something well, and then we would hire you. But you could stay at home and work however you wanted. So for us, there was no disruption in the remote nature of COVID. We saw the impact of COVID in the usage of our product. So we can see that, consumers and businesses are having impact, but the remote nature was obvious for us. And so this vision of the future is like more change faster, because that's what the internet is driving. That's where technology is driving us. And so the competition against the giants is tough. There's no question about it. And there's the sort of the larger societal question of how much integration is good, and how much do you want distributed innovation and distribution, and how much do you want to enable small and medium businesses? And then for us is what are the things that don't make sense for the big giants to do, where it makes sense for us to be really different and innovate in production method and product and the way we engage with our customers. So it's to Robert's point, technology is key, but since that's our industry and our business, for us, it's innovation. And what are the things, either because of business model or because of cost structure, the way they're set up, that just don't make sense for the really large companies to engage in?
So sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
No, I find that absolutely fascinating. So I wonder then, do you continue to aspire to be a small and medium enterprise, or do you aspire to become one of the bigger giants?
Oh, well, here's where you get that mixture that we compete in the market and we build products and run a business, but at our heart, we are an NGO or a nonprofit trying to build an internet, that's got better traits for humanity in it. So our goal is not to be the giant. Our goal is to have an impact on the way the technology affects people and society. And so for that, you need to be a certain size. You need to get a critical mass, but you don't need to be the market leader. Our product, Firefox, was generally credited with changing the nature of the internet in its very early days, from the 1.0 to the 2.0 version. But we never had maybe more than 30% market share ever, at the most. And so that is our goal, is to have that kind of impact, to show technology can affect us differently than it does today. And through the market, have people choose that and demonstrate it's something they want.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Thank you all for your absolutely fascinating insight. Next, I would like to throw out a question and would like to invite whoever is interested to participate in this particular, which is, we are looking at a world that's possibly going into an economic recession in the next year or two. How does that mean to your company? Are you concerned? Are you still confident? Are you making any plan to adjust to that? 肖总和陈总，我刚刚问的一个问题是，现在全世界的
Robert and Mr. Chen, I was just raising a question regarding the worldwide concern on a possible onset of recession, the increase of prices of commodities such as grains and energy. There are geopolitical issues and technical issues. One of the biggest concern is that in the next 1 year or 2 years, there might be a recession. So for the two of you, recession, is it a real possibility? Are you concerned? Are you prepared? Making some adjustments already?
我先讲讲我的看法。
Okay, I would like to share my points first. Looking at recession, there's a high probability. Looking at today's world, we can see US is sunken deep in the inflation. Europe has a war. China has a problematic supply chain, which is also somewhat to do with COVID. So the major economies are going through major changes, and that could cause economic turmoil and increase of commodity prices, such as oil prices. All of this would impact on all of the industries, including ourselves, even though we're just a tech company. But in that environment, this is also a test for a company to see whether it has determination and can focus in its own core competences. And I feel SMEs, so medium to small enterprises, actually is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they're very agile. They can change very quickly. On the other hand, it doesn't have as much resource as the major companies. So in that process, they must rely on their agility, find the correct direction, and focus all of the resources in this correct direction. And to us, this would be the core competences: technology, innovative content, and interdisciplinary mindset. All of this would be key to our industry, the culture, entertainment, and content industry. it needs to be empowered by technology. Over the past many years, fact has shown us that we do have a strength in these aspects, even though we cannot compete with the major players in the sector, but we are playing a leading role in certain niche markets. So I feel going forward, there is great hope. As long as we can focus on our competences, create good products, we will have users and we'll reap our own gains, commercially or culturally. Oh, thank you. Core competences and core products. Okay, I will say a few things as well. From my perspective, every era brings with it its own risks and opportunities. And I think going through COVID, some of the mature entrepreneurs like ourselves will become more resilient because we have a stronger sense of mission, maybe even stronger than those more peaceful times. The real entrepreneurs are courageous in the face of challenges. So I am more confident for the future, even though we're only a small company, but we are a leader in this service sector in China. And we are actually where the hope lies. So colleagues in our companies facing the uncertainties brought about by COVID had been more resilient. And today, Chinese companies find it more difficult to gain US dollar financing, but we don't care. I have a company that had gone to Hong Kong to become listed in the Hong Kong exchange. My aspiration will not change. My drivers and my household service providers can go to even the New York exchange. Well, thank you very much. Sense of mission and aspiration. Can I also ask you, in the long history of your entrepreneurship, do you have the darkest hour story, or did you have moments where you wanted to give up? Actually, it's quite simple. When I started a company a second time, I realized that this is a company that requires a lot of hard work. And investors had asked me why I wanted to go into a sector that's that difficult. I said, well, coffee is popular because people like the taste of bitterness in it. I think this is where the aspiration comes in. My aspiration is to help the ordinary poverty-stricken rural women. They need to have more dignity. They need to have a better employment opportunity. They need to have a better social safety net. And you have 20 to 30 million rural women in China who've gone to the cities to seek opportunities. They don't have skills. They don't have knowledge. You would have a very strong sense of mission to provide help to them. So when situations become difficult, you would know that your initial purpose was for the public good. You're actually trying to change other people's lives for the better. And I am a serial entrepreneur, so I am used to facing challenges. I don't care about it that much. I'll just do what I am good at. Well, thank you very much for that.
You're concerned about a possibility of an upcoming recession.
Yeah, well, actually, the recession is the least of our problems. As we see it, we have ahead climate change, which is a very big problem. And it's like everybody is kind of focusing on the short-term problem, whether the long-term problem is much worse. So we have to get ready to live in a world where continued disruption is the core. And we need to navigate looking the horizon very, very far. So to us, it's a matter of raising awareness on people. People have no voice in this, have no action in this. Sustainability to us and ESG is very important, and many other things other than CO2 equivalent should be addressed. Things that make life better for people and are in the here and now, because the human race will probably not survive climate change, but the planet will. So it's about making our human race stronger and understanding where we are making mistakes. So for us is making this more social. We're making this more adaptable to anyone. This is why we created a metaverse called ESG Verse, and we were discussing with of metaverse, basically because it's a tool of the future to discuss with the public, with the new generations, to make them understand that that technology can bring also visually easy to understand sustainability, actions, videos, inspirational act from larger companies, smaller companies. The idea is to have all of us towards one direction, which is saving our planet and the human race. If we concentrate on purpose, and it's a long vision purpose, it's probably going to be easier to overcome an immediate recession because we will focus on the long term. And when you focus on the long term, I've experienced as a company, people buy why you do it and not what you do, really. So this is what gives a sense, to our life as entrepreneurs and as the reason why we're doing this, basically.
Thank you for taking the leadership in the social awareness and social responsibility. Thank you. Michelle, any thoughts from your side? We have a very balanced panel today in a way that we have people across quite a few different continents in Europe, in Asia, in America.
Well, I think I'll build on the last comments and say, yes, we want our business to be sustainable in the long term. We run our business, we're a little unusual. Our business is a tool for the purpose. So we're partly business and partly purpose and mission at the core. So we want to be sustainable as a business and to figure out business models and understand our customers and provide value now so that we are sustainable. And so economic conditions are clearly on our mind. But the long-term piece that we're interested, our business as a tool, is to try and build technology with a more focus on how does it impact the individual and society. And so our structure lets us, we want to generate revenue and be sustainable. We're a business, but our main goal is to do that in order to build an internet that has more of the traits that we want in it. And so those long-term questions are the biggest ones for us. Although, of course, as you say, in the short term, you can't ignore what's actually happening.
Thank you for sharing that. That sustainability goal is quite important. I love how each of you have touched upon this from different perspectives. And let me try to sort of pin it a little and share it back with you, which is some of you have touched upon the vision, some of you touch upon competitors, et cetera. So going back to that core where Chen Song was talking about the true scene, the very initial mission that you had in mind. I wonder, how do you all started? And how, have you always been able to keep on this trajectory, or have you had to be more agile and change it somewhere along the route?
Yeah, 我觉得每一个人其实每一个公司啊，
I feel every company must start with a mission statement of the founder, but that mission statement must become the corporate culture, so it becomes the mission statement for everyone who joins later. Our company wants to provide the best content for our users, and using technology, we wanted to create an evolution of contents, making it more advanced. So that aspiration has never changed, and there are several pillars to that aspiration. We feel we're a technical company, and we're basically nerds in this company, geeks. And what we wanted to do was to have this core, which is technology, and build upon it. Technology can be very powerful, but you need content to support it. And the content actually changes as the population changes, the market changes, environmental changes, or the times change. So the technology and content are actually two wheels on the bicycle, and the two wheels will support our aspiration going forward, using our technology to create long-term premium content for our users, things they like, and great experiences for them. Thank you.
I'm waiting for your direction.
No, I think Michelle touched upon a really interesting perspective, which is that she was talking about the sort of the bigger sharks in the competition. I wonder how that affect other corporations as well. Do you anchor them? Do you look at them? Or you always feel that the mission is more important and do what you're best is the thing that you should focus, whether it's Michelle or anyone else?
我觉得我们就是确实不太关注大企业做。
We don't really pay attention to the big sharks because they were born in their eras. What they wanted to do is to solve the problem in their times. For example, P&G would deal with detergents. But for us, we were born in these recent years. It's the emerging of Chinese services sector. It's the emergence of Chinese middle class. And there are many Chinese women who didn't have a good employment opportunity. And these are issues that are paid attention to by companies that were born recently. When there are big problems, entrepreneurs will appear. They will try to find solutions to these problems. So entrepreneurs could actually go beyond cycles. The spirit of entrepreneurship could actually go beyond the shadows of recession. Every day there are new problems and we are problem solvers. I believe all of us are problem solvers, otherwise we won't be here. So we don't pay attention to the big sharks. Every company is a product of its times. I don't think there is a second company in China that are paying this much attention to household services. And we chose this goal to serve the 30 million people, 30 million women, for them to find dignified employment. Before that, I didn't see any major company that are making it their task to find employment for rural women. Alibaba, Tencent, they're not thinking about this issue. Of course, they are great companies. They have their mission statement, but it is different to ours, and the outcome would also be different. Well, thank you for that. I think that's wonderful what Mr. Chen said. I am a user of Mr. Chen's as well. I am not one of the 30 million people that he is trying to help, but I have used his services many times and the experience was great. I believe this is a great niche market because he himself is now the big shark in this racetrack. So he doesn't have to pay attention to other people. But from my perspective, small to medium enterprises or micro enterprises, when they're working in a large niche market, it doesn't matter whether or not there are monopolies by big sharks, because in our industry there is big shark monopoly. We need to focus on what we do, but at the same time, we also need to pay attention to what the monopoly players are doing. The big sharks, what are they doing? Competition is something you cannot avoid. I won't name names here, but in this industry, we do have major players whose shadows is cast over the entire business sector. Of course, we must learn from them, but we can't become them. So as we analyze their business logic and look at what they do, we would make adjustments to our tactics in the short term. We won't change our long-term strategy. This makes us more agile so that we won't be eaten up by the big sharks, and we would choose our battles wisely. We must avoid confronting them in an area where they have clear strength over us. We need to find a space where we can coexist with each other. In our industry, I think this is more clearly seen because monopoly position is very, very clear in our industry. And for SMEs, this would mean profound impacts. So we must pay attention to what they're doing, what they will be doing. Thank you. So perfect world, really. Your product and services is in metaverse. So there are many people who are watching online who would be very interested in it. How much bubble is there in metaverse? I should put it this way. From my perspective, the metaverse concept is still very preliminary. It has not yet formed a market consensus yet. that's when the bubbles would appear. People would more or less be on the same page, and there will be a huge amount of capital influx, wanting to create businesses where this concept can be monetized. At the moment, if you look at it, talking about Facebook or Meta, they are working on metaverse as well. Chinese big sharks are doing that as well. And numerous people around the world are looking at it from different perspectives, trying to define it. But until today, there is no consensus. No one really agree on what metaverse is. Everyone has their own definition. And metaverse really, it would be connected. It needs to be connecting to everybody by nature. That's the concept. And so it is not one company creating one metaverse, the other making another. That doesn't make sense. For a complete metaverse, it would have many different brands, many different products, but everyone's working on the same standards and the same technical platform. So for us, it is very simple. We want to create some technologies and create some content based on the technologies, and the content we want to be changing it using software and hardware, creating entirely different experiences to our user. And this is what we're trying to do. Of course, different people and different companies will have different ways of trialing it. And to answer your question, in the early stage, even though we're seeing some capital, but we are not yet seeing huge capital influxes like with VR, AR, or when O2O had started. There was a huge capital influx because people had agreed that that was an area for future development, and there is already an agreed set of standards. There is no such thing yet for metaverse. Maybe there will be in the future, but in the early stages, this is a period where there is an abundance of innovation. Different people have different ideas. So if more people wants to join, that's a good thing in my head, because people then can bring in unique and refreshing perspectives, and that would make the future metaverse more clarified and more enriched. Oh, thank you very much, Robert, for that. 我们时间其实是有限呢，在我们结束之前呢，我想让每一位跟我们再分享一下未来最大的一个愿景啊，不管它
order for your company to be the world leading company in that particular industry, what are the top 3 things that you would do? Can I ask each of you to keep it within 30 seconds? Thank you. Any volunteers?
还是陈总先吧。
好的，做哪3件事情？从我来讲，第一是要完成整个行业的数字化的互联互通，是吧？不仅仅我们一家。
So we needed to make sure that there are interconnectivity in this industry. More businesses can join our platform, and then we need to set up standards and rules and regulations, because it is still lacking in the Chinese market today. And thirdly, it's not a thing that we would do, but it's a expectation for our platform. I want my company to be a beautiful company, a great platform. It doesn't have to be the biggest. In today's day and time, especially in a platform company that involves a huge labor force, we want to make it more harmonious and more beautiful. So the users, the laborers, and platform, these 3 parties could enjoy a harmonious relationship, mutually beneficial, and not a zero-sum game. And I believe this is the same expectation for all internet-based platforms. So I want my company to be a beautiful company with a great platform. That's my expectation. Well, thank you very much for the wonderful sharings. I will talk about my company now. For our vision for the next decade, or even for longer. It has never changed. We want to become a company that has taken root in China, but become a world-class company. This doesn't mean that we want to become the world's biggest, but we want to become a more unique company in our niche. The three things that are most important, in addition to the technology, to content, and is interdisciplinary mindset, there are two more things that are important. The first one is internationalization. We have been doing this already. There are more than 20 offices around the world. Internationalization will continue to be a very important point. This will help us to realize our vision. There are many different tactical moves, but this is key. And the next one is the usefulness of the company. We are part of the young leaders or young global leaders community, but we're not that young. But now we look at the future consumers and the current consumers, they are very young indeed. How do we create content that is popular with the young audience members? This is something that we are going to try to do in the future. Well, thank you very much, Robert.
Michelle and Betta, your vision and top three things. In 30 seconds, please.
Yes, and so actually our top three things is we like to make clean air as a service, just as we do with utilities as a company. We would like to be the first global group in our niche. We are biotech, so it's a very small niche, but it's going to be a big challenge. So if you can have a clean air as a service, just as you have light or heating, that will be a big breakthrough for us. Moreover, by measuring also what is the progress
that's sustainable and that generates value to customers and that competes in the market. And so that vision of a better internet, one that is safer and more secure and we're comfortable with our kids and we have some understanding of what's happening and, can create things ourselves and participate in some decision making and what are the products and how do they work is an ongoing vision. And the three things that we do for that, we build products, we build communities of people who participate, and we aim for and encourage and support good policy that encourages competition and choice and safety and protection for the individuals.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you to each one of you. I wrote down some of the keywords. So thank you for the inspiring sharing. Thank you for your dedication to the harmonious society, for the being agile and being resilient and to raise the awareness and to be sustainable and to be innovative. So with that, thank you so much for today. And to everyone out there, to all the audience, before we close, I'd like to share that you will actually see a QR code at the screen. So the World Economic Forum recently launched a new tool to help small and medium enterprises to assess their future readiness and benchmark themselves with their peers. WEF would love to enable and help smaller business uncover their strengths and potential gaps, as well as to become the new champions of tomorrow. So I would highly encourage you to scan the QR code displayed on screen and find out more about individual companies' future readiness. And with that, thank you so much to each of the panelists, and thank you to our online audiences. I look forward to seeing you someday in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.